a sec. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Indie Interactive, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. And as you can see, I'm hanging out here with two other indie artists that we're going to talk to about how they've really stepped up and leveled up their game in 2017, and they're going to be doing that even more in 2018. So for those of you joining us right now, my name is Bree Noble. In case you don't know, I'm the founder of Women of Substance Radio and Podcast, the founder of the Female Entrepreneur Musician, and the founder of the Female Musician Academy. As you can tell, I like working with female artists, which is why I have two female artists here with me right now. And we're going to be talking about what they've done to level up their game in 2017 and how you guys can learn from what they've done and what they're going to be doing even further on in 2018 with everything that they've learned this year. So with me right now, I've got Kristen Chambers down in the bottom. If it's I'm looking at it on Facebook. So she's down in the bottom center. And then to my, I guess it would be right, when you're looking at the screen, that is Sarah Baker. And I'm just going to have each of them introduce themselves, tell you maybe like 1 or 2 minutes about their music journey and to where they were when we entered 2017, up until that point. So go ahead, you can start, Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Chambers, and I'm a singer-songwriter here in Seattle. I started as a performer in theater and made my way into the songwriter world. The entire time I was in theater, I was always a writer. And I decided that I really wanted to do music that was my own, that I've written myself, and slowly found my way into songwriter land. I have up until 2017, I'd been working with a producer who has done all of my artist albums. So I have a few albums out and really love working with him. What happened in 2017 for me is that I joined a songwriting group where we're handed a theme, a weekly theme, and the task is to write a song to that theme that's given to you and record it, write it, record it, and post it to the group within 7 days.
Wow, that's really cool. Can I ask what group that is?
Called GIAWS, and it's through Taxi.
Oh, yes. I think I've heard of this from Michelle Lockie before.
Yeah. And that just really stepped up my songwriting game to really need to flex that muscle every day and finish a song and not wait for inspiration just to sort of hit you. That was really good for me and my process. At the same time, I am taking weekly piano lessons and really trying to get that going. So I started to perform in my band on the keys, which was a big deal for me because I've always solely been the singer. It's
stressful, isn't it? I started doing that at one point and I was like, I can never do this. I can never play and sing at the same time. It's going to distract me.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a different art form, way of performing, to focus more on the playing and the song itself, as opposed to, I had always been on the mic looking out at everybody and expressing myself that way. So long story short, all of those things I've been doing weekly led me to a place where I have all of these songs that I really want to produce. And I've just found myself in a place where there's just no way that I could get, they're not all great. I mean, not every week do you have like some sort of gem, but I had a lot of starts and a lot of finishes. And I think, if that's 50 songs a year.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm finding myself in a very prolific time. So I really found myself in a place where I need to start being able to engineer and produce some of these songs myself, which led me to Fett's class in Nashville. And I had met him at Taxi and just got such a great, warm feeling for him and his wife, Nancy. So I journeyed to Nashville to up my engineering game. And that process is still ongoing. I mean, I think that's just like anything else, is a lifetime of learning ahead of me. But I feel like I'm in a place now where I can most definitely get some songs done, build a studio here where I'm sitting. And so that's definitely a new phase for me, to be able to get my songs from, up here, not just out to people live, but also record it the way I hear it. Mm. And to feel confident about it while doing that, which is like, that's the other part of the journey. So that's where I'm at.
Definitely. I love that. And so, full disclosure, like the reason that I brought these women on here, not just because they're amazing artists and I want you to learn about them and be inspired by them, but it's because both of them have attended FET's class in Nashville that I've been talking about a lot recently, called Empowering Women in Audio. And I'm just so behind what FET's doing. And after talking to all these women that have been in the class, I just wanted to make sure to spread the message about it in as many ways as I could. So that's one reason I brought these ladies on here. And before I get to Sarah, I wanted to say hi to everybody that's come on here right now. Hello to Eliane, Joan, Dorothea, let's see, Carlene, Matungi, and Robin. Great to see you. That's at least the people that I can see right now. Thank you guys so much for coming. Say hi to these ladies in the chat. I'm sure that they would love to respond to you after we're done. And if you have any questions for them that come up as we're going, at least, about the journey that they've had or about how they're using their new skills, just go ahead and put those in the chat. So Sarah, let's get to you and let's find out kind of how you started, what your music journey's been like, what you have done up to 2017, and then how you really stepped up your game in 2017, including FET's class and other things.
All right. Well, I'm Sarah Baker, and I live in Santa Rosa, California. And I grew up in Tennessee, which is, the little small town I grew up in was right 2 hours from Memphis, 2 hours from Nashville, and 2 hours from Muscle Shoals. So I got a lot of musical influences as a child. And my father sang gospel, and, he had me going around with him when he was doing revivals. So I played piano and organ for him a lot. So that's how I started when I was really young. And in high school, I started writing songs and was in a little group. I went to college and majored in music. And like Kristin, I did musical theater for quite a while, and opera. And but then I was also sitting in with a lot of bands in Memphis, and I decided that was really my path. And I wanted to write more songs, and I kept doing that. And I did eventually joined a band and went to New Mexico with this band. It was called Dolly and the Loma Mountain Boys. And it was during, the 60s and 70s. So it was kind of a hippie rock band. And that's where I really started doing a lot of writing, and had a great time in Taos, New Mexico with this band. And we came to California and got a lot of record company interest. And I ended up with a deal from London Records. And so that record actually never got released. So it was one of those kind of sad music business stories.
Mm-hmm. Lots of those out there.
What was great about it is it got me going on my own projects the way I wanted to do them. I realized if I wanted to get what I wanted, I had to do it myself, kind of, maybe. I had to know more about recording. I had to know more about producing, and I needed to know more about the technical side of things. And, that was also when first digital recording programs were starting to come out. So I was really into computers, and I was into, in college, Moog synthesizers. I mean, I was like way into that stuff, and electronic composition. I was just interested in kind of all of it. And I wanted to hone it down to where I was really, composing. I wanted to write songs and keep doing instrumentals as well, keep doing electronic stuff. So I have been delving into the DAWs for a long time. So
you want to let them know what DAW stands for in case they don't know?
Digital Audio Workstation.
There we go.
So I got a sequencer where I got a keyboard that had a sequencer on it so that I could, just record stuff right onto there. That was sort of one of my first things that I did. Anyway, I did put out a couple of independent albums that I recorded, not in my own studio, but I worked in other studios with great engineers. I was very fortunate to know some really good engineers. And I learned a lot doing that. But I still wanted to be creating some quality products from my home. I wanted to be able to just be by myself in the studio because I'm kind of a loner. I want to be in there, I want to be in there creating without anybody hearing what I'm doing. So it could be really
takes
bad.
The pressure off of being creative,
Right. Nobody ever had to hear it, So I did a lot of experimentation with that. And then I produced another person and I did 3 albums for this person. But I wasn't happy with the results. I mean, I just thought, I am not a good enough engineer to be doing this. So, late 2016, I joined Taxi and I went to my first Taxi rally. And that's where I met Fett and Nancy. And they both just, I just they were so warm and approachable. And so I learned about Fett's class. And I knew that I wanted to start doing some licensing and that it was important for me to definitely know what I was doing a little more than I had been. Mm-hmm. And so I too went to Nashville. Plus it was great for me because I was going back to my hometown practically.
That's fun.
And my relatives still live there, so I got to see them too. And so it was just a fabulous experience. And since then, I've had a couple of forwards. I've submitted stuff to Taxi. I went to my second rally this year, and I've just learned a ton. It's just been amazing what's happened in 2017 for me.
Wow. Have you submitted to other places other than Taxi as well?
I did. I've this place called Hit License.
Yes.
And I've had a forward from them on an instrumental. And so I feel, optimistic because the things that I'm doing, they are sounding a lot better. I'm starting to learn. One of the things I'd been frustrated about is the vocal sounds that I was getting. And I really wanted to learn more about recording vocals because I hadn't been happy with my vocals. And so that was another reason I took Fett's class. I wanted to learn more about studio treatment. I wanted to learn about getting my studio sounding good, my room. And I learned a lot about that from Fett. And so also I'm cutting back on live performances. That's something that's different for me because I used to perform 5 nights a week with a band,
Wow.
So for years. And so cutting back on performance has been interesting because it's allowed me to spend a lot more time just focusing on the creative side. And I wanted to put out another album because I've put out 2, but I wanted to put out another one. And so I wanted to do a lot of the work, the demo work at home, at least the pre-production, because I can't afford to go to an expensive studio. It ends up costing a lot. So
yeah, that is such a good point because, the amount that we have to spend nowadays on creating a home studio is so much less than it used to be, right?
Yes.
So the cost of buying the stuff for your home studio and going to this class is so much cheaper than actually going in a studio and producing something. And as you said, like it takes the pressure off when you're creating or when you're, trying to tweak things that you're not under this like time clock of, every second you're spending in there, you're being charged.
Yeah.
Plus, I can really be a perfectionist. I mean,
right.
I have plenty of time to tweak some little thing that's bugging me, So that's been really great, and I mean, I really enjoy it. I don't think I'm particularly technically savvy, so it in a way, I mean, if I can do it, anyone can. That's what I would say. If I can learn how to use those workstations, and learn how to use effects, and anybody can, because I really am. I'm very creative, and I'm not really, left brain oriented.
That's really encouraging. Before you jump in, Kristen, I just wanted to say that I wanted to kind of comment on what's going on in the chat here. So, Robin's giving you a lot of kudos, Sarah, for what you've accomplished. Eliane said, thank you so much for reassuring me about Hit License and Taxi. And yeah, Eliane, that's a great outlet for you. You've got some great music, instrumental and vocal that I think would be fantastic for licensing. And then I want to just say hi to another Robin that showed up, and Elle, and guess who's here? Fett is here, which is awesome.
Hi, Fett.
Hi, Fett.
He's hanging out in the chat. Carol, great to see you. And anybody else that joined that I missed, thank you so much for hanging out. So I'm going to jump to Kristen, and you can jump in with your comment that you were going to make. But I also want you to touch on what you are now doing with everything that you learned in Fett's class. I know you're working on a project right now that I just found out about that I didn't even know about. So let them know, what you're doing now.
Well, hi, Fett. Good to, talk to you, sort of. Well, one thing I did want to say about the class is I thought it was so interesting that we were all there from different perspectives. Not everybody, in the class is doing TV and film licensing style music. There were people there who had been sound engineers for stage for a little while. There's one woman who produces records for artists solely. Another person who does, Michelle Locke, the infamous, who does, mostly TV and film at this point and is very successful. All there for the same reason, and to feel more confident, or to be able to utilize and to understand this mysterious world of engineering that can be so intimidating. So I felt like Fett just does a beautiful job of demystifying things that seem scary, and empowering you. So it just, if you're wondering, it isn't a man-hating, 4 days. In fact, that only comes. It's more.
It's a great community, really great
community, and just empowering. And the philosophy behind it is, it just is what it is. I don't know if there's 20 men for every one woman engineer. I don't know the stats, but in music, and as in a lot of environments, it can be sort of man-dominated, male-dominated, and not in a bad way. I don't know if this is coming out right. What I'm trying to say is creating a space where that just isn't part of the class, where you can feel free to ask any question, and a safe place, because
hands-on.
A lot of dumb questions.
The work. It was hands-on. We did the work. We put up the mics. We put up the
mics, start to finish. So yeah, basically he brings in this dream team of session musicians, and we got to work on Nancy's beautiful song, his wife's song that she wrote. So you do.
Nancy's here too, by the way.
Right.
So you do everything from miking up the band hands-on, so that you're not, going home freaking out, touching your mics, and what do I do?
That was really one of the things I really wanted to learn, was how to mic certain, like an acoustic instrument, like a guitar. I didn't know for sure what was the right way, what kind of mics to use. Learning all about the microphones, the different microphones, and what their purposes are. That was really valuable to me. And learning about treating my studio for sound was another that I loved. And Fett is just a great teacher. I mean, I'm a teacher, so I'm picky about teachers. Fett's a great teacher, and everything is very clear, and you really feel like you're understanding it.
Yeah. So basically, I left.
Has a great book. His book.
The book. I have the book. It's just not in this room. Yeah, so I came home with the tools. You know, this room that I'm sitting in now is got diffusers and absorbers that I made. That's number one thing. You know, you don't have to spend a gajillion dollars to get a good sound in your room. There are great mics out there for, you know, that are affordable. His book is, you know, read the book, take the class, and these things can really empower you. And so right now I'm making my own record, my own Christmas EP. Woo! Coming in just in time for Christmas, looks like. But so this time last year, I never would have dreamed that I would have that confidence. I did a piece that was forwarded in Taxi as well, and that was from start to finish my own without any help from anybody. So it's possible. You can.
Wow. Well, I think it's important to note too that you have a fully produced Christmas album that you put out about 3 years ago. Yeah. And you probably have been thinking to yourself, like, I've got all these other Christmas songs, but I can't afford to put out a whole nother Christmas album. And to be able to just record it in your own studio and put out an EP, I think is so freeing.
It's freeing, and it's different, and it's awesome, and it makes me feel like I can stay in the game without and start to recoup the expenses. So just from a economical point of view, if I'm going to be a constant creator, then I can't do $15,000 albums who can?
Right.
Beyonce, right? No, maybe, I don't know. Somewhere in between. Anyway.
$250,000.
Yeah. She doesn't do it for 15 grand. Oh. Anyway, you get the point.
So Kristin, what are your plans for 2018? Do you plan to really focus on licensing and recording your own stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna once I put Christmas to bed, I'm probably gonna sleep for a few days, and then I'm gonna wake up and keep writing up a storm. The Song a Week challenge that I've been that I've been going through has created another album. So
wow.
I don't want to give people the impression that I do have a mentor in Seattle that is helping me with some of the computer logistics, because unlike Sarah, I didn't know how to even do anything on the computer at all. So I do need some help with some technical things here and there. And I still need some water wings while I'm swimming, some help. I don't know if that made any sense, but so I do have some help. But yeah, I'm going to keep going and hopefully keep learning about engineering and creating my own art here.
That's awesome. And before I jump to Sarah, there was a question in the chat about your one song a week challenge. Yeah. Another girl said she was really looking at doing that in 2018, and she wondered if there was any free Facebook groups for that. Is GAWS free?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's free. So I would refer her. You can refer her to me, and I can get her to the right person. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And it's GYAWS, right? What does that stand for?
Get Your Ass Writing Song.
That's right. Okay. Love that.
So
cool. Okay. So Sarah, let us know, how has the class, moved your career forward? What are you looking at doing in 2018 as a result of what you learned?
Well, I hope to finish my album. I've got a couple of songs. Well, I have 4 songs finished, and I have had a couple of albums that I didn't release that were on tape, and I've had them digitized. And what I'm doing right now is I'm working with my DAW to sync those files together. So it's really quite a challenge. Because I haven't been able to do it yet, but I'm still working on it. It is really, in fact, I'm going to talk to Kristen's guy. It's Doug, right, Kristen? Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met him at the taxi rally. I'm gonna call him and ask him to help me with this logic problem that I'm having.
That's a small world.
How to sync these files, because that's what I'm trying to do. So I want to remix some things. So I'm trying to get these files synced up so that I can remix some old tracks that I have and get them sounding more modern. So That is such a challenge. I can't even tell you, but
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I have spent hours on it already. And, I'm actually going to have to like little sections and, squeeze them or expand them in order to fit with it, because it was made with a Foztex 16-track tape machines synced together. So trying to get those two machines synced together in a digital fashion is I don't even know why I'm doing it, but it's just an interesting project for me.
But it must sound, does it sound really nice? Does it sound kind of?
It does.
Cool? Yeah.
It does. It sounds great.
I bet.
Because it was recorded to tape. So,
Yep.
I really prefer. I mean, but it's just, I don't know what I'm doing particularly on this thing. It's like a big step up for me to even try to do it. So that's what I'm trying to do. So fun.
That's cool. That's a lot of work.
But I wouldn't have even attempted it if I hadn't taken Fit's class. I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't think, oh, you're nuts,
Wow.
So, it's he's given me a lot of courage.
I think that's a big point. Like Robin said, the empowering part is no joke. Like it does give you the courage to try things that you haven't tried before and would never have been thought you would attempt.
I would never think.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Well, you guys, it's been so helpful to get this perspective on the class and also, what you guys have been doing in 2017. Obviously, you guys have a lot in common, working a lot in licensing, doing some, taxi stuff, going to the road rally. And just wanted to say, like someone mentioned in there about your Christmas album, Kristin, and she said that she also did a Christmas album on a budget, on her own terms. And it was so freeing. And I play some of her music on the show. So it's obviously well produced. And my personal Christmas album that I made in 2011, I made in a basement with my own equipment and stuff. And it has been one of the biggest sellers. So, like you said, it can help you recoup some of the money you spent on some of your bigger projects.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I've learned is that, is the song's performance coming from the heart? Were you able to get it to your listener? Not what fancy gear did you use and what's under the hood here and there and all that stuff. We can get so caught up in the technical. Of course, it's really important to get, the heart of the song to your listener. But just remembering what you were trying to do in the first place when you wrote it is just as important. So that's awesome that you guys were able to do those albums too on a lesser budget.
Well, before we wrap up, I do want to make sure that you guys have the information on how to get involved in Fet's class. These two women, as well as Robin Monteroso, that's in the chat right now that I talked to yesterday, they have all been to this wonderful class. And so if you ever have any questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer them for you. And of course, Fet and Nancy, who are in the chat right now, are happy to answer questions for you. But there is a little bit of an urgency here because I have secured a really awesome discount for all of you guys, $500 off on this 4-day event, but it is only available until this Friday, December 1st. So if you want to get involved in this, and I highly recommend it, it is in January, is it the 20th? I forgot to look at the dates. 22nd through the 20th, maybe it's the 25th through the 28th. I think that's it. Maybe Fet can verify that in the chat. But it's the end of January. It's in Nashville, and there are only 10 people going because they want to keep it really small, and 5 spots are already filled. So we've got 5 spots left. And you can purchase that at empoweringwomeninaudio.com and use my awesome promo code BREEZY997 to get $500 off. That means instead of $1,500, you'll pay $997 for this for an entire 4 days of awesomeness. So empoweringwomeninaudio.com. Go and use the promo code BREEZY, BREEZY997. And you can get that $500 off. And it was funny because I was telling Fet, like, did you know that was my nickname when I was a kid, Breezy? And he's like, no, I thought I was just being clever and funny. And I'm like, no, I actually was called that. So it worked out well. Breezy997, that's available through to December 1st. And if for some reason you can't come to that class, we're trying to give you a lot of notice to make sure that you can, work out your travel schedule. If for some reason that date doesn't work, you can always sign up for the waiting list. They are planning to have more classes in 2018. So just as a closing note, I want to thank Kristin and Sarah for coming on this morning, and just really excited about what you guys are doing in your careers. I love, when I see women just getting out there and doing new stuff and putting themselves out there and helping other artists. I know both of you, mentor and teach and help other artists as well. And I really appreciate that. So there's also a lot of questions in here about GEOs. Apparently that's really interesting idea to people. So if one of you know the link to that and want to post it in there, that would be really helpful to everybody. Okay. And it is a taxi related songwriting forum, right? Is that how it works?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And there are some other groups too that some challenges that are free as well. But yeah, I'll post the link for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for attending and coming to Indie Interactive today. It's been super fun. I've loved looking at everybody's comments and so much just encouragement and love for everybody that's working hard to get their music out there. And until next week, I want to encourage you guys to keep making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. Thank you again for coming today to Indie Interactive. And thank you to Kristin and Sarah. Have an awesome day, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.